we got our soldering iron all warmed up. Got our tip nice and cleaned off. Gonna tin this up, and we're gonna start. Soldering that one heater wire into that lower terminal there. And the other one into that terminal. And we want to look at the other side. And we actually didn't get good solder flow all the way through. So I want to come back and solder from this side a little bit. Make sure we got a really good connection here, because there is a lot of current flowing into the heaters. And we don't want to have any kind of a voltage drop from not having a good solder connection at this joint. And that's that one. And let's go ahead and flow some solder into this one as well. Make sure we've got a nice solid joint with these two wires that are feeding the heaters of this, or feeding the power on this tag strip. Just like that. You got a nice good solid connection on both sides of that. So that's going to be bolted down here. And notice we're not using this center one. We're just using these two outer ones. So we want to get our nut put in there. It's going to be a little tricky. But get that like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to be doing is we need to run, there's going to be two runs of this heater. One's going to come across like this up to these pins. Then there'll be another, it'll come off of this with another pair that are going to run over to these. And honestly, I've always done these off camera because it is a little hard to do quickly. But I'll try to do this as best as I can on the camera. One of the goals here is for these wires to be up against the chassis as much as possible. So we don't want them probably be something like that. Then come down here and then come up like that. We want them to stay twisted as long as we can, and then be as close to the chassis as we can. So let's strip back. There we go. So then I look at, let me see if I can zoom in here. So then when I come up to the pins on the tube that I'm going to connect to, I look at, okay, if I unwind these, I'm probably going to connect the yellow one to this one. Just pull this one over here. And then have the blue one kind of continue around and go to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it about right there. And we may end up trimming it a little more. And then we're gonna unwind these and kind of straighten them out a little bit, kind of like that. Then put this back over here. There's a lot of like back and forth kind of trial fitting until you get this figured out. So I think this yellow one here is going to go in first. It's probably going to be about that long. And again, it's better to leave a little bit of extra where you can come back and trim a little more if you have to get it to fit perfect. And then this one will come around and probably come into the back side of this pin. We may even use this lower one as the first, and then we can pull the next pair off this upper pin and then the bottom pin on that side. And this is actually starting to look, that's actually starting to look really good. Let me zoom in here. And we're going to do it kind of like that. And then the second pair can start off this pin and then use this lower pin and then come over to this driver tube. And this one's a little long. I think I want to strip off just a little more wire and trim the very end of that. And like I said, for some reason, doing this heater wiring is something I really enjoy doing. And I think it really shows when you look at an amp that somebody's built. They've really put thought into laying out the heater wiring. You know, both from a electrical and from an aesthetic standpoint. I mean, to me, it's just one of the cooler looking parts of the amp. So one of the things we know we're going to be doing is like these transformer wires are going to be coming over here to the power supply. And as you can see, you can use three-dimensional space to space things apart, but these are also going at 90 degrees to these AC heater wires, so you don't have to worry about them picking up any of the noise in the AC heaters. And I've been using AC heaters in all my amps, never had any hum. And so I think a lot of it is just making sure that you keep the heaters down as close to the chassis as you can for as much of it as you can, and then try to keep them away from other pins. And then when you do have to cross the heaters, make sure you're doing it like I'll run this wire like kind of over, around, and then back like whoop, like that over here to the cathode resistors. And the same with this one. I'll loop it and come over the top of the heater to the, or actually this one won't get anywhere near the heater because the heater is going to run across like this. So next we need to run from here up to the driver tube. And so we get some more of this wire that we twisted up. We know we want to go from here up to there. So let's just cut off a piece that's a little longer than what you need. And I like keeping the colors the same. Doubt it makes any difference, but so I want to cross over the top of that one and then have this blue one come in the bottom. So let me again, obviously, when you look inside those little made in China amps, they don't go to anywhere near this much trouble laying out the heater wiring. And let me zoom in here and show you what this is gonna look like. It's gonna look just like that. And as you can see, this yellow wire is wrapping around this blue wire still. And one thing you never want to do is go around the outside of the tube. Like in this case, when there are these two in the middle like this, you just want to go over the top of the tube socket. Don't ever go around it. That's just asking for a ground loop to get connected or to introduce hum. So I want to bend that down and over. I bend it like that so that it gets this down close to the amp chassis. That, like that. And now we're over here at this other tube. We want to come up and split and go into these two inner holes so the wires can stay as twisted together as far as possible across the chassis. So we're going to unwind these wires up and straighten out where they got twisted. Get these kinks out of it. So we know that's going to be about like that. So we may go leave one more twist in it. And it's going to be about right there. in there. Okay. And then getting close, just as the battery's fixing to die on my camera. It's going to be like that. And then those two are going to go in there like that. And that's what our wiring's going to look like. So let me change some batteries here and we'll come back and finish this up and solder this in place. Let me zoom in on both of these sockets so you can see what I've done here. It's going to sit in that one like that. And I'm actually, because I'm not using the outer part of this socket, I'm going to cut it off like that. And like that. And solder those two up. Okay. And then we zoom up to this other one. Show you what it looks like. And it looks like that. With these overlapping each other. And the pins, the wires are staying twisted as much as realistically as possible. The last thing I want to do before I solder these is I want to get this one a little bit away from, get this insulation a little bit away from here so when I'm soldering this it doesn't melt that insulation. And I think we're ready to solder these. We'll start on this top hole because some of it's going to flow down. Just like that. And then we'll come over and solder this side over here. Like that. And I think we came up with some really nice looking heater wiring there. It's up against the chassis. It's going to be away from any of the other wires. It's tucked down low. These have the yellow crossing across the blue as much as possible so that we know that we're getting as much cancellation of the hum as possible. And I think it just turned out really nice looking. So anyway, guess we're going to have to work on this other side here. I plan on it following along the side of this one and then coming across at 90 degrees and then turning, going up and over and back down. Honestly, I think I'm going to bend this one up because I've shown you how I bend these. I'm going to go ahead and bend this one up off camera and and then show you how it fits when I get it all done. So I hope this isn't another 20 minutes, but it may be. If it is, hope you're enjoying the series. If you are, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you soon for more 6SQ7 fun. Have a great day.